Alright, so in this one, with the year coming to an end today after it is finally over, we obviously will be in 2026, but figure as the last day of it, why not rank every Ultra/LF that is released within this year from worst to best, from, well, how they are now, how they've been growing throughout the year, and where they end up being at the end of the year. Obviously now, as an example, would be a more new unit, probably has a better ranking because they're more modernized, they have better guard, they have this, that, and the other. And just to note, we do have here the starting LF, we go on trunks, so we have 1, 2, 3, 7, 11, 15, 19, and ultra wise, we actually have 6 ultras that released this year, so that's 25 premium units, with Cell being the first ultra that have released within this year's span. So it's going to be quite a ways within a ranking here from worst to best. So let me know if you guys agree with this. Hey, maybe supporters next year will get one of these as well, because we're going to get 10 billion of them, and we just started a couple months out from them. We already have a good bit here, with it being in 9. So we continue on. Let's see the ranking of the worst to best Ultra/LS within the year 2025's release in Dragon Ball Legends. Basically, it's not a surprise to say that the first of the worst to best ranking of every Ultra/LF release 2025 would be Mr. Middle Cooler. This guy in his release was a dud. Maybe he gets a little bit of his buff later on, which is more recently happened within this festival here. That is starting to end with us being the last week of it, of the New Year week, or into New Year week. This guy has been terrible since release. He was an Namek Goku victim. Now he's a UI victim. Namek Goku, Janemba, baby. He's everyone's fucking victim at this point. Metal Cooler never really had a home. He released alongside Red Zenkai Cooler, and Zenkai Cooler was seen as a dud. He released alongside King Cold, and here's Melee LOE. It's like, what the fuck is that doing for me? Why am I even coexisting trying to run that? Yeah, Metal Cooler never really ever meant anything. I mean, the entire mechanism of how he is as a character was either always going to be the best thing in the game for months and months and months and months, like a Prime FSK, or be one of the most undertuned, underutilized, and garbage things. And there's only 2 ways to do that. There's no middle ground in this type of mechanic, because this is a strong mechanic if done well. They did it subpar. They don't want to make him overwhelming, and in turn, they made him the most underwhelming thing of the year. So there he is, Mr. Metal Cooler. He's the first on a ranking, finally, with it being the worst premium unit released within 2025. Actually quite impressive that this is the second worst release of 2025, with it being another purple, by the way. You'll notice a trend here. Purples probably are not the most limelight releases ever, at least in the starting on this list here, but DKP, he's better than Metal Cooler, so that's the only leg up I can give. He's a worse 6th anniversary fusing Super Vegeta with the guaranteed rush landing. This guy gives you where you have your entire hand reshuffled to Strike, Blast, Green, or Blue within the rush for sure, and his rush does a lot more damage for sure, but he can still get guessed, and it's literally the guy who needed the like. Did fusing Vegeta need to get an RG thing to make himself be the god that he is? No. Did it happen in anime? No. Did this guy need to kill Shenron and do all this bullshit? Kind of needs to do these things a little bit more, and yet his thing of the RNG mechanic of Rising Rush, essentially a fucking wish to land or not, isn't really that tuned well, and he's so reliant on that rush mechanic to do anything afterwards. DB being not the most ideal team. I mean, Kid Ku is pretty good, Tamborine's pretty good, but that third, it's Jackie Chu, and just run over this guy. It's Piccolo Jr. or World Turbo Goku got their plots, run over this guy. This guy was like a 6th option. Like, if Metal Cooler is like a 10th option, this guy's like a 6th. So if there's any clairvoyance to give you here, don't summon on purple LS from 2025. If there's nothing else. And this probably does help within the New Year's banner dropping. You'd be like, wow, did I pull a good character? And you look at this list, like, oh, the 2nd worst character is someone I just pulled. Well, darn tootin'. I wish I pulled better. Who was number 3, though? You'll never believe that the next one is a purple of IT Goku. Yes, another purple release. I don't know what they were doing. Purple's this fear that happened, and I don't want to know if they'll ever do it again. Purple usually is, like, pretty dominant of a color, by the way. Like, most years out of this game's history, purple has been, like, that color. Like, one of, like, the top 2 colors of this game's history. But this year has, like, made it such a subpar lesser being. It's kind of crazy. But IT Goku here is number 3. Worst to best premium units of this year's span, because he's so paper thin, given he is doing very good burst damage and having that uncancelable neutral, having decent, again, UMV coexisted as well. UMV anti-isms within what he does a blast card, he pops their gauge, within the blue card gets sealed, like, whoa, he's doing great. But then UMV could just land one combo, 50% proc this guy, get that disrupt out, and then he's just food for him. Even with Ultra Cell coexisting alongside IT Goku here, it didn't matter because they were both frail, so it's like, he didn't really have much going on. His lock and snipe thing was existent, but it really wasn't as potent as anything else. His basic mechanisms of being an AoE green card rat, because he is obviously intended to do that to get the neutral and just to be good against the yellows, didn't really work too well because it's super obvious that you're intending for that. And if you don't really do that with him, you don't see much value. Maybe you'll see like 30% of his value compared to like the 90 you can see within AoE green, fishing, starting, blah, blah, blah. But like here you are fighting a UMV every other game at this point, or eventually a Namek Goku, eventually an Ultra UI. I don't know where this guy really ends up becoming better than anything else, but he was close. I'll say this. He was close to another purple that's next on this list. It's just, I think his frailness of his team, even with Super Trunks, I think it was like, what, red, purple they were intending with Super Trunks releases, who was actually pretty good, better than IT Goku. As well as Cell. Yeah, no, it makes sense to run that. Here's two reds. Here's UMV cooked. V got hurt because Cell, but it wasn't IT Goku really helping that. So he was still struggling a little bit. And this guy, again, being paper thin as he is, nowadays it's terrible. Back then it was even bad. So he's got to be up here on this list because unfortunately, what the hell is even the point of this release? I couldn't tell you. As I mentioned, another purple does make this list, with it being Mr. LF Evo Vegeta. Yeah, I don't know what he even does either. I mean, he's intended to be this really weird thing where here's new philosophy. Some of these don't make new philosophy, right? They're not on it. But they're trying to be. This guy doesn't make any sense of, he wants to be, and he is, but he shouldn't be. Because he's intended to long combo like a Super Saiyan 3 Fest Goku. He's meant to do that. Who just dropped 6 months before this guy. And that's awesome. But then how he has new philosophy of lower cover null and all this other bullshit, he doesn't do that. So his main objective is weird. He has no cancel buff effects. So now he's also, mind you, this is like almost 10 months later, UMV's release. He's also UMV victim. And he doesn't really have a perfect team. He has himself, he has Kaba, and neither are tanky. And that blue off color is UI, who's melee based and doesn't want to flow with the blast unit. I don't really know what he did much. People really cope this guy. Frankly, again, this is why I said they're interchangeable. I had a tough time with this because both of these two didn't really mean anything. IT Goku and Evo. Sure, I guess you could argue IT Goku had higher tier placements, but people would also defend Evo with their life because here he is. He's the anniversary headliner, part 1. You would think he's going to be pretty decent. I don't see anything with him. I never did. Nowadays, even within his plat, it's the most subpar thing that exists within this year for an LF character that has been recent. I guess Baby Zenkai is not too far off, but we're talking about 2025 stuff. Compare this to Kid Ku, compare this to Red MZ. This is much worse than those, right? Bomb Ku Zenkai cooler. I'm pretty sure all those characters saw higher highs than this guy ever saw the highest high. So Evo, a wannabe infinite combo guy that doesn't really infinite combo even now, trying to run around despite greens still coexisting. You're not going to run him. There's no need to. There's nothing. Ultra UI released as his ally to give you cancel buff effect for your team twice, and even then, you're still not fighting this guy. Even with greens running the game right now with SG and Goku, both running amok, you're still not fighting this guy. He doesn't do shit, and he just plat. He doesn't do shit. I do believe next one here does have to be Kefla. It's a shame because Kefla's not actually a bad unit. It's just, again, the issue with new philosophy is the inconsistency of it, where here is this character that's released recently, and then they have everything in their kit. And then here's Kefla, who has basic stuff. She's an offense unit that does an offense role, want to stay in power within the vanish backs and all that shit. It's awesome. But then, again, the other guy has an everything kit, so why does one have that and then the other doesn't? That's exactly her flaw, because she's actually designed well, while others are designed, well, unfairly. But she does start here, where we're actually looking at decent units, not bad units anymore, within Evo and all of them back there, all those purples, essentially. We're actually looking at decent units. And Kefla, again, damage is good, got some faint bullshit there, got some decent teams within their initial release within Blue UI, Count Khalifa, la 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 la. That's all great and good and well, But then again, it just doesn't make much sense what's going on, because here's Apeless, who drops in part 2, who is a green revival, so it's better safety than Kefla, and not that far off damage, I'm sure, eventually once Apeless gets built up. And then you move on to part 3 of Fest, or rather anniversary that year, of 7th year, which, mind you, she dropped after these two things of Frieza. So Kefla never was a mainstay option, because just run Frieza or such, just run Apeless, who has even stats, just do something like that. While she was doing great damage and doing good stuff, here's these others that just do them better. Here's these other teams that just don't really care for her. So again, a fine release, a good release, a healthy release, and just kind of gets dwindled and siphoned away, because here's XYZ that coexist. Why drop infinite greens back to back to back like that? I couldn't tell you, but they did, and it ruined her stock, because she could have had a lot better aging. She could have been more, even with low defenses and all that shit she has. They didn't want her to. They clearly didn't. They just threw her out there. They made her green for no reason, and you ain't gonna fight her ever again, maybe until she plats, which, I don't know when the hell that's gonna happen. Sucks to say. This unit has to be next. I'm looking at all these characters here on this, worst to best so far that's been ranked, and this unit really didn't peak anywhere near the others' peaks, and I think their pinnacle is what matters most, and everything else kind of subpar to that within what's their teams, how they doing within evolving in the meta, and blah blah blah. But this unit's only digressed in the meta, with it being they were worse initially, and then they got a little bit better, and then they're still like pretty mediocre, because now sure they're good against Goku, but then here's still Gohan and Goku that exist. I don't think this unit can be much higher, because their pinnacle being, what is it? I mean, 5 at best? Sure, but again, I look at this list here, and I see characters that peaked at, like, maybe it was a short span, but this unit also peaked at a short span at, like, their highest being 5. Here's this other unit that peaked at, like, 3, and given it was, like, a week or two, but, like, they peaked at 3. This character is, unfortunately, just not ideal. Their coloring is so off when they first initially released. There's no reason to summon for them. There still isn't. The Ultra released afterwards. Why would you go back and summon for this character? There's not even the need for them within the Ultra, because just some of the Ultra and use himself against himself. Unfortunately, Goku and Hit, they could get a glow up within time, but they're not core anywhere. They're just kind of floating in space. So as much as I don't want to put them this high, because I think they are pretty good, this is kind of the caliber where we're at, because all these units that are going to be further, in my opinion, at least from what I'm seeing so far, have been just at higher peaks and have meant more to their teams than Goku Hit, because they don't even really have a team. So Goku Hit, unfortunately, have to hit next, because there really isn't much need for them at all, and there really hasn't been. A similar mold, unfortunately, to Goku and Hit there would actually be Janemba, who also really recently released of, well, doesn't really need to be anywhere. Again, right now, he is worse than Goku, worse than Ultra UI. He's been like that since initial release, worse than Goku, and then Ultra UI got his plat, so he's been worse than him since then. Even then, initially, you could run him with CMZ and MZ, and, here's Janemba instead of Red MZ or CMZ, but now the team's getting worse. But at least it's a team he could have fit on that worked very well for him, and that's why he kind of above Goku Hit, because he actually had a team he could run for, and clearly was optimized for him and meant for him within Android 13 himself. But Janemba's like a 4th-rate option right now, even if Goku Hit is as high as they are, with him being like the second or first best red that exists right now in the game. Doesn't really matter to the meta, because you don't really need that to coexist in the game right now to run it. And Janemba, being the subpar yellow that he is, at least he had a more certifiable team within himself, and was doing very much more better individualities than I've ever seen Goku would ever do. So maybe you could swap them. I personally wouldn't. I'm more biased towards Janemba, because I definitely use him a lot more, but I also do see fighting both these characters that Janemba's giving me more hard time than Goku Hit. It's very difficult for them to actually give me any impact in a match against me. And then even more so than that, again, Janemba just feels like he is doing a little bit more on his good merit when he's getting those gauge pops, and it's pretty easy to do. It's just you got to use them like 2 times and you learn how to use them. Goku Hit, there's just so many things that deter them that they can't even control. Just not a fan. So Janemba right there, better than Dooogote Hit, but now we're really getting to like these units peaked well, and they might even have more value even after the peaks. Maybe Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta. Obviously, we all know that eventually he did get replaced by Green Miniku within his Zenkai happening. I think it was very close, like a month or a few weeks after this got released, but this unit is a bit downplayed from initially. He has stacking cup pen, he has very good burst. Obviously, going to run him on Daima when he was run alongside Majin Ku, alongside Daima Super Saiyan for Goku. I'm not saying he's good now, even, but I am also saying that I tried him more recent times, and if there was anyone helping me just try to run that pure Daima trio that I just mentioned, this guy was the one doing it all. Like, the damage was like, it was actually damaging, and that could slap to this day. Yeah, I'm not trying to glaze him anywhere further, but I'm just put out there, if anyone could do damage to this day still, despite being as old as he is within this release here, I think this is pretty impressive. Obviously, the higher star threshold you have, and the better burst potential, the better burst potency you can put out. But I think he was peaking at those, top 3, top 4 areas at his initial release. Though, again, it did not last too long, because you can definitely argue Miniku was better, and then you put Miniku on a team as a sub-counter thing. It's about more burst damage within Mini Goku within the sub-counts, or Vegeta's bursting within his cup pen stacking, so it's more bang for your buck, or if it's faster for your buck, which your preference at that point. I think most people prefer Miniku, especially because they didn't have this guy, as well as me, high stars. But if you did have high stars, I'd seen some crazy things within this unit, and I think his value is definitely cemented as one of those greats. Though, again, time fades. Here's Majin Buu. Here's people trying to run a more toxic Daima. Sure, but initially, this guy was frying a lot of motherfuckers and doing it for a pretty easy bargain. Up here now would be Mr. Kid Ku. Yeah, this guy, pretty good. Again, mention it, where Tambourine himself was a very good duoship. Jackie Chun being that third, one of the most annoying units in the game, in my opinion, that's ever released of him. Very nice stuff. Even this guy getting a resurgence would bump him up for me. Again, the initial release is what matters the most, and how looking there and their peak matters one of those higher degrees as well. But then if they ever get a resurge and they're back and they become really back to run the game more, they just get bumped up even higher for me, because, oh wow, they actually cared about them for a little bit of time. And this happened for this character within getting his plat, and even prior to that, here's him still being run, because here's Tambourine S tier, here's Jackie Chun, and he's supposed to run Kid Ku anyways. They just start running Kid Ku, and he was doing great wonders. Right before Festival was happening, this guy was running shit, and I mean running shit. Unfortunately, Festival happens, Festival does the Festival thing, and he stops being used ever and ever and ever again. It's probably better when he was on a tier boost than when he even got his plat, because his plat was just forcibly restricting him when the tier boost wasn't even doing that as bad. But regardless, he had a very high initial, and then he had a really good resurgence again. So I think this validates his tier spot within being one of the, better off characters. Not bad, not great, but, better off. He's almost in that great category. He's kind of just leaning a little bit off of it. But 2 resurgences within a year. They actually helped DB a good bit this year. It's just a shame that they never really stayed. At least it happened, but it never really stayed. Following up would be Mr. Super Saiyan 3 GT Goku. This guy actually was very good on release. He was being those top tier potentials within top 5 alongside Banku and UB4 and himself, and doing his great wonders of the world that he was trying his best to do, and he was succeeding. It's just that he is, again, kind of falling in that Kefla mold where, he's doing his role, but here's XYZ that exists, and eventually he's going to get dropped real fast. But he was having a more solidified team, GT being kind of like a close Daima. I'm not sure if you could call it that, but it was just fast swapping a lot, and it was just really overflowing support within Banku supporting, this guy supporting, UB4 just frying everything, and this guy could obviously help, but he was more so actually Kefla, but with a team, so he's much higher in this list because he actually had to where he wanted to go, and he filled the color role and everything he needed to do, he was doing effectively. So this guy also getting help once again in his resurgence factor, being a lot arguable top 10s for people, because this featured? He did featured boost. I was thinking S tier boost, but then UG4. The feature boost he's back in, so pretty good initial release, up to solid, up to great, and then as well as getting a little bit more help now. Yeah, I think there's a good spot for him. Took a while to get to this character, but finally, go on Trunks. Yeah, no, they were broken. I mean, they were amazing. Remember their initial release, they had 2024 units alongside them, so they were really like getting the good treatment, because this is pre the new philosophy. They're pre-new philosophy, as well as because you can see it right here within their kit. How can you tell it's new philosophy or what's not? Well, you look at the kit being 9 paragraphs long, and that's pre-new philosophy, obviously. So they were having Ultra Beast run alongside them. You had UMV, because it's your Sun Fam, and Vegeta Clan. you had Super Saiyan 3 Fest Goku, you had the Diamond Mini Ku, who's kind of getting victimized by this character, the red one, obviously, even, I guess the green one, but the red one as well. They were running crazy. I think their pinnacle was like top 2, if I remember correctly. They were an infinite combo character, just like Super Saiyan 3 Fest Goku, so you don't want to pair them together, no one's going to stop you. Even if they got caught by UMV, here's their succession mechanic, being as good as they are on damage, as well as being an infinite combo character within their succession mechanic here. They were just top-notch for a little bit of time there. Again, here is a little bit of moving forward in the air, and then starts to fall off, and things go down, but them being such a top tier option initially and pairing so well with Ultra Beast really gave them that stock up that a lot of people probably don't even remember from the beginning of the year, because this year has felt like 3 years within Legends time because some of the painful metas. But this character I remember vaguely, but vividly within that vaguely. They went a lot of damage and pissing me off and pissing you off, and they weren't really toxic. It's just they were just comboing along, and we were probably used to it at that point. But they were just doing another one of those. So very, very good. At least they can go on Trunks here. Definitely think they deserve the respect being this high up, because they are at the beginning of the year, and just being as good as they were for that time frame they had, I think does give them the validation to be here. Up next is Mr. Apeless. This guy was a bit odd to rank because obviously he had a very good value of Saiyan Saga releasing, and then here's Kaioken the Ally and Tianchatsu, and that's kind of the trio he could run. Saiyan Saga with the Yajirobe bench as well. Or if you just wait for part 3, and here's Namek Goku within these 3 together, who's going to stop you. Here's Frieza leader slot within Saiyan Saga, who's going to stop you. You do all those things, but again, that's kind of where it strikes as weird, where exactly Frieza released. So this guy has endurance, and do you really even need Mr. Apeless anymore at that point, especially with KO Guard and endurance together? No, but when he first released, he was being one of those top tier dominants. He was good against Blue UI, who had released within part 1. He was helping Kaioken deal with him within some struggling, because Kaioken's only defense neutral after taking his gauge pop. So you would have to kind of like meander around that. So he helped Kaioken deal with UI, as well as being that safety for Saiyan Saga, introducing the power creep of the new philosophy to the highest degree, alienating the entire game, which is what Saiyan Saga in part 2 did. But I think because how fast he kind of diminished does a little bit hurt him. Kaioken Goku is definitely going to be higher than this guy because he was peaking higher and doing more for the team. This unit was just being a safety, kind of being that off option. Sure, he could get damage. Sure, after like a lot of force focusing, he could be prioritized, but there was so little sequences where you do that because Kaioken's just on his team. You would never really go for that optimization of himself. So Saiyan Saga Vegeta, pretty high up, pretty much where he deserves to be. But again, not as high as his counterpart, Mr. Kaioken. Man, compared to this guy's placement to Evo, was holy shit, it's night and day. Blue UI! Yeah, no, pretty good. Pretty good release, clearly. Being one of the best units in the game. Yet again, I mentioned this over and over again, where despite it being 6 months later, you were still running into, here's the God, who here's Ultra Beast even at this point. Here's UMV. Characters still running around, and here's Blue UI running around with like a Godku just sniping out characters, with UMV just sniping out characters and being a nuisance, as well as he did get a little bit of prospects of resurgence a lot later on in his life, but initially being the auto dodge unit he just has to be a god, as well as auto attacking, as well as auto dodging. Dominant force, having that 1v3 potential, because here's an ally dead, now he goes neutral. Given the neutral was a bit sparse of his offense neutral second main ability only, it didn't really matter too much because there was no broken green within his initial release, so he was vibing out, doing his thing within the aging span of initially, yes, here's Saiyan Saga Vegeta, yes, here's Frieza that drop, but then time passes, here's some, purples that are actually helping a little bit, especially Ultra CMZ primarily, and this guy gets resurgence of himself. You could have it where it's Blue 13 and Red MZ, you could have it himself, CMZ, Blue 13, or a lot of people were doing this guy here, CMZ, MZ, and that was a very viable team. I saw this guy running way too much in PvP, and I had so much disdain for it because I hate UI characters. They're very stupid, but he was running so much PvP within that time frame before the festival was arriving. Even with Android 13 existing, he was still running around, so it's like, he really was the second best blue, and he was like showing that still, despite it being like 5 months later. So that much value gain back was way too indisputably high to put him lower than this. Honestly, he could be higher than this, but I'll put him here. I'll give him a little, cooler head than he has had in the past here. But yeah, Blue UI. I'm just stop giving us UI characters, please. Just stop doing this to me. Following up would be Mr. Kaioken Goku. Again, not too far from A+ Vegeta there, but again, just doing more. I believe his gauge was giving you defense neutral. It's giving you team support. It's giving you was it team support and damage guard? I believe it was both, if not one of them, but it definitely felt like it was both. This guy being as good as he was on boost was crazy, given boost is only a few months. But again, we're talking about some of these characters barely making their top tiers within like weeks, and then they're already dropped in their top tier spots. So having a few months within this guy being as good as he was on boost was insane. He did move on from the likes of A+ Vegeta to move on to Mr. Namek, Goku, and Frieza of Part 3, and that's the best team in the game of that trio of this guy, Namek, Goku, Namek, Frieza, and that team was running shit for a little bit of time there, and I mean, like, actually like a month, if not a little bit more time. So Kaioken having his great damage, having his great bulk that he had when he was on the boost system and doing his thing there. He still had value when he was off boost, but definitely you noticed him more and fought him more. When he was on boost, he just kind of wasn't everything. Again, some of these characters didn't make any sense. Here's one doing this, here's one doing everything. Who the fuck it's gonna be? Here's the coin flip, we'll find out. Kaioken, though, he definitely got the everything kit, and he was showing it. Kind of a weird one to put. I couldn't really figure out where to put this guy, because it's, I'm more focusing the initial releasing and kind of their peaking. And, well, if I have to look at initial releasing, I have to put this guy lower. But then I look at his peaking, and I have to put this guy higher. So it's a bit odd to try to do both. So I think this is a good spot for him. He's not way too high up, but he's not way too low. Clearly, Red MZ was feeling undertuned to a lot of people in his release. He wasn't anything top tier broken, maybe like barely top 10 for a lot of people. But then you go on months later with Red MZ's plat, and then he's just running the game for a couple months there before Android 13, within Android 13, before CMZ, within CMZ, even though they released very all soon together. He was just running shit for free. There was no contest. The blues didn't matter. They really don't even matter. Going into the festival itself, Blue UI was not stopping him. He was just being a deterrent to him and trying to, and he was still failing, frankly. And then here's Android 13, who isn't doing anything of damage and isn't bulking, so he doesn't give a fuck about him as well. So it's weird because his initial thing is kind of offy, and then this everything else is just so fucking godly and broken. Him being the core foundation, him being a problem, frankly, within his plat. This guy, he's a weird one, but yeah, no, he was way too good at his peaking to put any lower than this. So Red MC's got to be like up here. Finally, we've entered Ultra territory, with it being Ultra across the Mastery. This guy, unfortunately, was usually not peaking that #1 threshold, so he didn't have that kind of going for him. He was usually being seen as #2 to Red MZ, who was actually put on this list. But the benefit that I can give him to put him higher than Red MZ would be how he's kind of magnified away. I don't know how he's done it. Yeah, I guess magnified's wrong, but he's formed away. He's ratted away into the game still being able to be run despite, again, as I mentioned beginning of the entire video here, because it's all it's about really, yellows and how broken and stupid they've been, despite Nameku, despite UI, despite Janemba, despite Baby, despite blah blah blah. This guy still managed to find his way to be decent enough. Again, not hitting the same ceiling as maybe some of his PO allies, but right now, I mean, you would actually be better off than not trying to run this guy, because people are starting to stop running those yellows, so his resurgence value kind of gets upped within that. Part 2 hurt him because Namegoku was even more force focused. The ending of Part 1 into Part 2 is also hurting him because Ultra UI plat, but now he's getting a little bit helped out within, again, his initial release being very good, very dominant, alongside 13MZ himself. So, CMZ first Ultra to make this list, unfortunately, but he's the Ultra with the least broken mechanics, so, what are you gonna do? He just has to make this list somewhere, unfortunately, on the lower end for Ultra. Next up would be Daima Super Saiyan for Goku, and yeah, no, the dominance of Daima was centered around this guy, so him being that center piece of it. Daima would not have been the team that it was. I mean, actually, you could look at it and go back and see Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta released before Super Saiyan 4 Daima Goku, and Daima was still struggling. People were like, oh, this shit's kind of mid. The duo was good of Ku and Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, but we need that, like, last guy, that safety, that everything character. It's a safety character as well, and lo and behold, here he is, being a foundation of everything that coexisted to make Daima the pain and suffering that it was. Is what gives this guy the stock that he has. Him being the best as well as clearly helps that, but yeah, no, being as foundational to a roster as you are, you kind of have to just have more stock too. You'll see it here, and you've seen it already, where Apeless is higher because he's given more safety than anything. Given, some others can do more damage and more outputting at some sequences, and probably did at their prime to primes, that safety precautionary is giving you a lot more reassurance for yourself and giving you, well, a better off matchmaking in your own right. And Daima Super Saiyan 4 Goku hit that mold, making Daima the most brain dead shit ever, in my opinion. Well, one of this year ever to coexist. And again, being the foundation for that, the wall of it all. Well, he was doing that very effectively. Following would be Mr. Ultra Power Frieza. This guy actually was never hitting that #1 guaranteed mold. I think a lot of people were saying initially he was kind of looking like it, but then time passes and here's Namegoku having such a great ability. If not anything else, let's say he was hitting #1, because you could debate he was. Regardless, the aging of him to Namegoku, a lot of people were assuming he would age worse or better off than Namegoku, and Namegoku would age worse than him. Clearly went the opposite route with Namegoku not even making his list yet, because shockingly he'll be very high up. But Frieza, the nuisance that he is with the fucking beam piece of shit that he is, was just sticking to that, doing that for a minute. It does not help within the game's life of every purple being fucking dog piss after this guy released, and we didn't even really get a competent purple for this guy to get dealt with until CMZ. And I guess you could say Metal Cooler because he's purple and it helps because Frieza's not neutral often, but no, not fucking really. Metal Cooler sucks fucking ballsack. But yeah, Frieza just being the tedious force that he was and nuisance that he could be, and kind of getting a little bit of help now. Again, you are starting to run into a sequence where you're more valid to see where less yellow is being run, so you're more valid to run a purple, and then more purple's being run, so now this green's getting better off. Having this guy Leo Slot GT right now would not be a terrible play to do. I've done it. I've seen this guy do his crazy stuff that he can do right now. So, not bad. Not terrible. I mean, this is, one of the most ultras in the game, meaning he's a piece of shit, and he's high up because of it. Mr. Cell, he makes it. He's next up because, and I know this sounds crazy high, but every single time this year, all I hear about Cell was, oh my god, he's back. Oh my god, he's back. Oh my god, the resurgence. Oh my god. It's all I heard this year. That's literally the only thing I remember from this year, from this game, is Cell's back in the meta. Cell's back to dominating. Cell's back to the... I'm following what everyone's saying because I'm hearing it. I'm seeing it. I see the damage again. The frailness of him being definitely a flaw. Android 13 drops though. Here's a little bit of resurgence there. Gammas get their secondary plat. Here's a little resurgence there. Within PO just being a competent team. About 4 Red MZ getting his buffs. Here's a resurgence there. I get it. But, he had that damage potential as well as the pen stacking that he had within his, I think it was Strike and Blast, but I'm pretty sure it was just Blast card. He was doing great damage. Having the simple ability that he does of Endurance Null coexisting was definitely helping him get a better aging prospect for himself, because here's Frieza. He could kind of do like a few blast cards, then pop, pop, pop. But he can also run with Frieza, so there's a little bit of help for him there. Initial release, though, being as down as he was before, everything tried to murder him within Daima, within Gohan Trunks releasing before him, I believe, if not still Gohan Trunks being soon within this guy's release span. He was still dominating the game, though. If you didn't have Gohan Trunks when Cell was out, which is what I remember mostly of Cell within the beginning of his lifespan, you really couldn't do anything. It was either you run your own Ultra Cell and then you kill mine, and then that's how you win, or I run mine, you don't have any of those characters, either of those two, and you guarantee lose. You could not, there was so much oppression within Cell. There was no good revivals, there was no good endurance, comeback, indestructible. There was nothing good. So Cell's oppression that he created initially when he first released, and his resurgences that he kept getting, is what's putting him so high up on this list for me here. Trucker Hat 13 follows up next with him being as good as he has been within this whole entire time frame of existence, being the supporter for a billion zillion units. Unfortunately now, this is really where it kind of dwindles him. Nowadays, there's just no reason to run him because Super Saiyan 4 Goku has it where you do 3 cards. And let's say, okay, Goku enters on the second card this guy's done. So then he does 2 more cards, you got his gauge, and then you swap out to somebody. They do a card, and then after that one card, he's got his support built up. It ramped up already. It happened. They do that one card, that next ally or whatever you do, and then your strikes, blast, and greens are sealed, and then your combo's zilted. It's done. 13 loses a lot of value nowadays because that, I think he's top 10 because of that right now, actually. But before all that, this guy's being run again with MZ, CMZ, Zenkai Cooler. He's run with fucking every character in the game. So clearly he had the value frame 0 and frame 1 and frame 2 and frame 3 and frame 4, but now frame 5, he's actually lost a little bit of it. Even again, part 1 of this festival, he's being run with fucking Super Gogeta on a movie's team and just running for that infinite glaze that can't coexist. So no level of oppression within himself, but what he was giving for his team, kind of a staple thing of that just third precautionary and goodness for your allies, similar to a Diamond Super Saiyan 4 Goku role, but less restricted. Clearly his value being this upwards then, would fall in line. Gohan arrives, and this actually might seem low for him. It's kind of weird to scale these newer ones, clearly, because we don't know how they're aging so far, but we can see that Gohan has taken a little bit of an impact within Super Saiyan 4 Goku releasing, so Gohan having, again, basically an everything kit clearly gives him the skyrocket that he has to be this high on the list, for sure, but again, getting hurt within Super Saiyan 4 Goku does diminish him to a degree, and not losing any capacity for himself, no, but his team's getting just a little bit countered out. Here's the duo of father-son, Goku and Gohan, name it Goku and Gohan, and then here's UE4 and Super Saiyan 4 Goku. Well, there's a little bit of issue there going on for Gohan, where he just has to experience a little bit lesser than what he would be initially, because if this was happening during part 2, no shit, he'd be the best because he was so oppressive and so dominant, and he still is that oppression and dominance, but it's a little bit pushed back now. So Gohan, still being a Gohan, being in the top tiers, but he's not the best of the best, at least, so that's nice. Mr. SG does hit next, and let me just state for the kind of the endings here, it clearly is going to be more newer units than not. Clearly there's a little bit of some that haven't been shown yet that aren't the newest of the newest, but it is a difference that's happened between this whole year to where it is now, excluding Daima, but really now is kind of where it's been showing most within part 2 to part 3, even a little bit of part 1, but more part 2, part 3, where there physically is a full entire team gap. If you don't have XYZ within some of these units that are going to be named, your team gap is just so much more insignificant, and how you are as a character in this game is just so much worse, worse off for you then. So having Gohan where he is here, then SG, and then whatever, it's not really about their individuality as much as it is how they are to the entire meta and how they're getting impacted by those top tiers within themselves. Because all it is now is just like tier list time, right? Okay, here's SG being a little bit better off now, not because Gohan's worse, but this isn't about their full individuality aspect. It's about how their teams get impacted, how everything else gets impacted, and the new units being higher up is more how they've impacted the game more so and make that team gap more coexistent than anything else, because I can't tell you what their aging is going to be. I can't foresee this, but I can say SG has great damage, great output, pretty good disrupts in their early game to mid game there, but then they kind of start to fall flat because then they're the secondary option. So Gohan being, again, because you might be like, wow, Gohan's lower than SG, like he's lower than this than the other. It's not about their individuality. It's about how they get folded over, or if they don't get folded over, what is hurting them. And is that thing that's hurting them one of the higher tier things in the game? And, well, yes, exactly. Thing that's hurting Gohan is something that's a green. Given Gohan can body a green, it's easier for a green to body him than for him to body a green, right? So, just putting it out there. SG, great damage, great output. Can't tell aging clearly, but they've still done very well, and if nothing else, they are the second best green in the game, bar none. The Crimson Gorilla has arrived. Yes, UV4's value throughout this entire year has been kind of crazy, given he's not that old, but I mean, still, this guy was being the best unit in the game in this release. He's helping deal with Namek Goku, which is one of the few times Namek Goku was not being meta, like he was in the meta, but like he was not the meta dominant unit, and it's because this guy released and he's doing as good damage as he was. That just popping KO guard so fast, very nice, even being good to run with Frieza on a leader slot of Frieza, this guy, and then just put Super Saiyan 3 or Bomb Coup, whatever you want to do. This unit flowed so well. He is such an individual broken god within the infinite attacks he can do within the green card. Kick, boom, 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 spam infinite cards, you're immune to everything, and he just murder everybody's soul. Very toxic, very piece of shit character. As well as now he's back in feature boost, so he gains more damage. He's running Super Saiyan 4 Goku, so he's initial release god. He's then god. He's everything god. he's just one of the best in the game within this year, without a doubt. And he never really even fell off the top 10 at all. Some of these that are up here were not in the top 10 fully, but they were so good initially and so tedious and so broken that they made it this tier. This guy never fell off anything. He's just always been up here. And they did Vegeta justice this year within this unit. Toxic, but he's the UMV this year, essentially, because they're both fucking dickheads. And best unit 2025 does end up making it be Mr. Namek Goku. The amount of time this guy was just being used 24/7, every single meta, basically, running around since his release to where he is now, even now, being one of those best units in the game, given a little bit of hurt because, again, the Super Saiyan 2 Gohan thing and himself, but, I mean, shit. Just put him on the GT team and get KO guard there and just have very good value within him. This guy, AoE Green, Lock-In, all the bullshit that he has there within his kit. Faint Chance, again, supporting as well within Gauge Pop. He's just a dickhead. He has the easy Zenkos because he's a Yellow Saiyan. Like, there's nothing wrong with him. He has an Ultra ability being Yellow Saiyan. Like, everything around this guy is just meant to be. He's like a Gohan. He's made like a Gohan, actually, because Gokus have been fumbles in the past. I mean, shit, the blue Super Saiyan Goku, the last Super Saiyan Blue Goku, was very shitty aging, a very mediocre, unique equip. Compared to the newest one here, this guy literally is just everything. He ran in so many metas. He was running so many times on the meta, even if not being the best unit on the team, just being that precautionary character, the safety. Again, I keep mentioning that third ally is just really what pulls you over the edge sometimes. That Kaioken team, this guy's on it. Here's Andrew 13 and this guy, and then you're double glazing some third fucking Red MZ, CMZ, and that guy's somehow making the fucking team, even though he's not part of the team at fucking all. And you can always run this guy anywhere you wanted to. You still can, and I don't see him ever falling off within value unless they just make anti-KO guard, which people have been asking for. That's how good he is this many months later. People have been asking for this new Ultra that we just got to be anti him in some mechanism, because that's how good his mechanic is. He's the second best. And finally, as you watch his intro here, I think Super Saiyan 4 Ultra Full Power Goku is the best unit of this year's release within his own value stock, making it to where Gohan is not the king of all, making it where GT is getting resurgence, making it where a team change has to happen within diversity of UV4 and this guy, giving UV4 his resurgence, giving his team a lot of safety within the rush nullification. I think everything in his kit is just speaking toward the volume of I will do everything when a purple is not out. He doesn't have much offense neutral, but right now what matters is there is no fucking purple out. People can try, and I can even mention it as much as I can here, but realistically, you're not running into these purples. So this guy having everything that he does, clearly again, can't tell the aging because he just released, but him just doing it all, it's just too high potential for me. And the things that he's got going on for his teams, he has so many options that go on with it being a strike team, a blast team. Clearly blast team's more optimized, but a strike team, blast team, you can run him as a more defensive unit, more safety character within equipment. You can run more offense character within equipment. He has stack and cup pen as well, so he's doing a lot of damage if you want to do that. Just has everything going on and fulfills basically every role he's intended to do, and more so than that, being a safety, being a rush stopper, being great damage, being that very fast, impeccable burst within the Ultra UI mechanism that he has, just basically an upgraded version of it. Given, could be a downgrade in some aspects because you just pop it early, but if you're bursting well enough and you get that off and you predict them, you do drop combos, you can play for that and make it do a lot more for you than even kind of intended. So, Ultra Super Full Power Saiyan 4 Goku does hit the best unit in the game for me within the 2025 span. Obviously, that's also true within right now. He is the best unit in the game, so kind of holds in that regard. And yeah, no, I was actually debating putting Namek Goku number 1 because how well he's held up throughout the year, but I kind of segue it to where, as well as a third character can be that just really good stuff and be these high tiers of, again, Super Saiyan 4 Daima, 13, Namek Goku. I don't think they're ever just that perfect character. They're never just the perfect of the perfect. It's just always someone else that can be run with them or can run somewhere else. And I think this guy is that as of current within 2025. But what do you guys think of this list of the worst to best rankings of every LF/Ultra that's released 2025? I'll see you guys in the next one.